Bam guys, we got the 9950X3D2 in-house and we're just about to do a PC build with the ASRock B850 Rock Wi-Fi 7 motherboard. Now thanks to Newegg for providing the motherboard and giving us a nice hefty discount on this 9950X3D2 to make this possible. I'm going to introduce all the other PC hardware once we start building up the PC, so let's get this together. Now, let's go ahead and open up the ASRock motherboard here as we take a look at this once again. So make sure to check out the video right above if you want to see a little bit more details on the ASRock motherboard, which you certainly can check out. But we are definitely going to try to get this PC built all together. Now here it is. Now, of course, the great thing about ASRock's motherboard, it still features PCI Express 5 x16. It does also contain a M.2 drive that can also go to PCI Express 5, and you can still use your wonderful fast DDR5 memory up to 6,000 megatransfers if that is what you're planning to combine with AMD's processor here. We're going to install the 9950X3D2 first. Now you might question that if this could really work well in a B850 motherboard, and the answer is of course it can, as long as if it's a B850, X870E. Of course you do have the A620. There are other motherboards that this could fit in. Now, technically, it's probably best to put it in something like an X870E. Of course, the B850 is a great option if this is the way you want to go, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to talk about this Ryzen 9 9950X3D2 as it's the processor that we've all been waiting for. Now, what makes this so special, what makes it so different, is that it does have dual V-cache. It's up to a total of 208 megabytes of total cache. It has 16 cores and up to 32 threads, powers up to 200 watts with 4.3 gigahertz of a base clock, and it can boost up as high as 5.6 gigahertz. Now, this is still a granite-rich processor. This is not yet a Zen 6, but a great way to end the Granite Ridge line. Now, it has a L1 cache of 80 kilobytes per core, and it has up to 1 megabyte of L2 cache. More importantly, when it comes to L3 cache, it has up to 208 megabytes, and that is completely unshared. Now we're going to install the 9950X3D2. Just make sure to match up at the corner right here on the upper triangle, as the processor itself will also have a upper triangle on it as well. Now it's kind of backwards of Intel. You just lift up the latch. Similarly, now you just lift up just like that. Now you're just going to match up the corner. Again, you're going to see that triangle at the end of it. Easiest way is you're going to look up onto the notch and the corner. Now you're going to make sure it's all completely flush. Now you're going to shut this lid. Make sure you assist it slightly so that way it doesn't move. You want to push it forward, hold it. And then push this spring latch down. You're going to feel a little bit of pressure, which is normal. Then lock into place, and now it didn't really pop off like most of them do, but that's it. You know it is sitting in there correctly. Now the next step I usually like to do is, since we're already exposed right here to the RAM side, we could actually install the RAM, or we could install the M.2 drive. So we're going to go ahead and do so. The NVMe, which is going to be Samsung's 990 Pro, a good old PCI Express 4 NVMe, just to kind of cut back on some cost at least when we have this PC built together. Now it can always be upgradable to PCI Express 5 if that is what the route that you end up choosing to go here. The one that I do have has the heatsink with it. You won't have to put back the old heatsink. Now, it is good to keep it on the side if you choose to go PCI Express 5 in the future, because then you will have to install it. Plug it in just like this. Now let's go ahead and install our RAM that we have, which is going to be the crucial 32 gigabytes of CL32. Now I've been holding on to these ever since we had this whole RAM debacle. Now, good thing is I kept this on the side just in case for a rainy day. So this would actually go really well on a build like this. Take a look at that. Isn't that pretty sick looking? It has like that camouflage look. It's a shame that Micron pulled out of the whole gaming side of things, but nevertheless, this is still a really nice kit to have. Put a little downward pressure, make sure it locks into place. That is in. Now those two are in. Now next we gotta install the plate of the ASRock Phantom Gaming 360 LCD, which is going to be nice and simple to install. Now we just gotta remove these. We're not going to need these standoffs that they come with when it comes to the ASRock board. They're not gonna be needed. They're more meant for coolers that have really fans on them. Now we have this motherboard pretty much all put together. We have the ASRock B850 motherboard packed with the 9950 X3D2 along with Samsung's 990 1TB drive, and we also have the two Crucial Pro, which is 6000 megahertz at CL32. Now, besides this, what we're going to do is we're going to install the bracket next. I'm going to put this on the side here. Phantom 360 LCD AIO cooler. Thanks to Newegg for sending this. Again, this is their Phantom Gaming 360 LCD AIO cooler. It's going to more than likely, hopefully work phenomenal with this combination. Make sure to go down into the description box to check out all the wonderful products that ASRock has certainly sent us in order to make this wonderful PC possible. Inside the box, now watch for electric static. Make sure you ground yourself, touch the metal that's around you. You don't want to shock anything. Unboxing it, it just opens just up, just like this. Nice solid box. Love the box. I gotta say the packaging is really nice on this. And they pretty much put everything nice and neat here. Now they got everything labeled here. They have the guide first thing up onto the top if you need to go look at it. It'll be pretty much a basic guide for AM4, AM5 until 17 LGA 1700s or LGA 1851. More than likely, it'll also fit in the whole Intel LGA 1954 once that ends up releasing, as the pins are probably going to be too far different from the LGA 1700, which is the larger processor compared to the LGA 1200. But anyway, the point is, they organize everything nice and neat here, as they got the water block, the cooler, and the fans. I'm assuming everything is packed nice and neatly. Check that out, as I'm going to pull out what is going to be needed to put into the installed backplate. Now I'm going to show you a little bit the rest a little bit later while we install the build, but mostly we don't need the LCD cover, which is nice and labeled here. We're going to need a bit more of the accessory side here. The accessory side is what we're going to look for because we need the AM5 block. Now this one specifically says Intel, nice and labeled for Intel, so if you plan to have it inside of an Intel system, that is what you would be looking for. Instead, we're looking for the mounting accessories. Yes, we'll keep that out on the side. These contain all the screws and everything that you need for it. And of course, we will need the brackets. Here we go. This is what we need. We need AM5. Remember, we kept those screws in the side because we're going to reinstall it. This is going to act as the bracket that sits on top of the motherboard before we actually install it into the actual desktop, before we actually install it into the case. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna put this back the way it was. Obviously, we don't need Intel. We can definitely check out this wonderful Phantom Gaming LCD 360 AIO a bit later. So let's go ahead and go back to the motherboard here. So right now we're going to install the bracket for the AIO to make this process a bit simpler. So that way when we do install it into the case, it's going to make it so much easier. Now when it comes to the ASRock board here, you're going to have a CPU pretty much highlighted here. It's going to be pretty much hard to miss. Make sure you follow that to the T, as it should go just like this. As we can see that it's clearly stated for the CPU here. And then we're going to go ahead and install the other side of it. Once again, install the standard screws. And ready, we have everything that we need to be installed. Now, all we need to do is bring up the case and put it onto the table. Here it is. This monstrous case that everybody requested to see in person. Just look at this thing. You can't even see my face. Let's take this out the box. This is the ROG Strix Helios White Edition case. Even though the motherboard's black, it's going to match really well. And you're going to see well, and some of you guys might already know why. This was actually one of my wife's original idea of getting this wonderful ASUS ROG Helios case, as she believes it'll match the motherboard well, and I take her word, she's right for it. This PC was intended to be more a budget build, believe it or not. But now it's kind of turned into more of like a budget workstation, I guess. Yes. This is what you can expect from ASUS top tier packaging. Got the nice little information guide. Get this nice little box of accessories. And that's so typical ASUS, right? Now, if you're probably curious, it's when they give you stuff, it's grade A. You gotta give them an A, like anytime they package everything here. I love what they do when it comes to their thought process. It's anytime I open up ASUS products, I always feel I'm getting top tier quality. So that is certainly one thing I can't complain. And of course, got the case here. And this nice little flexi foam. Even the case, like if you look at the case here, it actually has a really nice bag on it. That's pretty dope. This is one I gotta add to my collection, and man, look at that. Ooh, don't mean to slam it down, but take a look at that. See how it has that metal base? I mean, it makes perfect sense for this to be part of Project Metal. Now, I know it's not an ASUS motherboard, but this just is going to go so well with this build here. Now, while I drag this down, guys, man, get that nice casing off. Let's get that all out of the way there. Woo, man, sweating. Gorgeous. Beautiful looking case. Again, this is something that we chose out of Micro Center. ASUS did not give us this case. We ended up picking it as part of Project Metal because we feel it fits best. I mean, check it out. Take a look at that. It looks beautiful. It matches with the brushed aluminum sides. Now, usually I like to strip this completely before we do install the motherboard and the rest of the components, because it's so much easier when you have the case completely apart here.
And there's also going to be a button on the other side too, just like this. Pop this off. Which this is pretty much screwed in here. We take that off. The good thing is it's already organized, so it makes it easier for you in that sense. We'll lay this on its side and get the motherboard in there.
And here you have the standoff screws perfectly set how we need them before we install our ASRock B850 motherboard. So we'll go ahead and line up this motherboard. Just make sure you remove any type of peel that you have. This does not, so we don't really have to worry about any type of laminate or anything like that. It should kind of pretty much fit in there since it's just like pretty much a standard motherboard. Just line it up to the ATX cutout, and that feels perfect. Now we can go ahead and install the screws for it. Now the screws will usually be packaged inside of your case, so make sure you use the supplied screws. So we need one extra ATX. Now this motherboard's a little bit different and requires an extra mount for you to install, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And I want to also check this mount back here because it didn't feel right. So if nothing feels right, just make sure that they're in correctly. Okay, so that's okay. Let's go ahead and put that back in, as it should be. As long as if you get the problem fixed and justified. So all we gotta do is install this motherboard the rest of its way, and we're good to go. Now we got all these screws in. We're going to flip this up so we can install
The power supply cables first, because it's going to make our AIO installation so much easier that way.
power supply I'm using is the RM1000X. Nothing too crazy special. It's not even the ATX3. It's one that I actually had sitting around, but it would go perfect with this build since we are using a RX 9070 XT. Let's go ahead and install the ATX cables. The reason why I like to do it so it doesn't get in the way of the AIO when it does get installed.
Now we got to take off this bottom side here so that way we can have access to a power supply and also connect all the rest of the I/O ports and cables that is necessary to connect to this motherboard. So first things first, we got to turn this around as there's going to be these screws right here that we're going to have to remove first. And we're going to access this screw right here and right over here.
Now all we gotta do is pop off this metal plate here. Those would be the cables that we need to install onto the motherboard. We got a cable we gotta cut here. Be really careful. Now this is everything we're going to need to install onto the motherboard here. There's just going to be a couple screws holding it, one up here and one back down here. Just shift it to the side there. Now I got USB 3.0 up here. So you're going to want to connect the USB 3.2, USB-C into the appropriate places. Now this is everybody's favorite, installing the panel 1, right? Well, power LED plus on the top, then it's going to be power negative, of course. Then you want the power switch. Then lastly, you gotta have the reset switch. Next, when you see a cable just like this one here, that's for the 8 RGBs, and make sure to plug it accordingly to the right direction. Plug in the HD audio. All we gotta do is connect the PCI Express cables. You're going to need it for the GPU. So you just need 2 PCI Express cables for this build since it's for the 9070 XT here. We'll plug this into pretty much the power supply here. The power supply we're gonna use is the Corsair RM1000X. This is a 2024 model. This was right prior before they went to ATX3, but since it's not being used, it's still a brand new power supply. We're gonna end up using this anyway for this PC build. Now we have the power supply all installed. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean this up a bit. We're gonna make this look a lot nicer. Beautiful. Now we can put this back into place.
So we're going to put this cover back in. I just got to route the cables through. Don't forget to take off these stickers here as soon as it's
done. So we're gonna go right through this grommet.
I know they're not the prettiest cables, but we'll put this back into place. With these wires, you have them stick them up. Instead, I'm gonna route it through back under because it looks like there is a way I can actually route the wires through.
Just gotta reset all these wires. Fortunately, almost had it, but no dice. Remember to be patient when wiring your PC here. So now we're gonna put this back into place. Just remember to put the screws back where they originally were. Put this back. Pretty much organized for the most part. So we just will refix it this way. As this is mostly taken care of, we just got the AIO that we're going to install. Corsair cables are just a bit short here. So let's go ahead and install this AIO.
Ninja Grease comes from Japan, really interested in trying this out to see how well it works. So we're going to try this thermal grease along with this new AIO by
ASRock Phantom 360. So let's go ahead and install the AIO and see how well this performs. Now specifically, let me just show you what the AIO looks like. I'm just ripping out the plastic, and just for everybody to know, I kind of panicked because there was no screws. I thought I must have lost them, but the thing is, it comes with the AIO. It's gonna look a little something like this. You're gonna see like these little spring screws that are actually come with the AIO itself.
And of course, we got this wonderful Phantom AIO. It does have a LCD screen on there, which I will introduce once this is installed. We do have these screws for this. Now, first it recommends to install the AIO first and then the fans. So we'll give that a shot and see how well that goes.
We got the thermal paste here. Now you can choose to use the spatula. This time we're not gonna use the spatula. We're just gonna simply put the X.
Now, ASRock recommends that the piping goes down first, so that's what we'll do. We'll install the piping down first.
That way it can fit appropriately. Don't forget to, once again, peel the sticker off of this copper plate. Remove that. Okay, there we go.
Go in a cross pattern when installing. These are spring loaded.
So you want to make sure they have a bit of tension, but not too crazy tight.
What I like about ASRock's cooler is that they have a cutout for the screwdriver to go in. And now we pretty much have it set perfectly.
Now since we got the radiator pretty much ready to go, don't forget to have these wires pretty much tucked away through your chassis. You don't want this sticking out when you install the radiator. Otherwise, you're going to have to unscrew everything just to get these wires through, or attempt to try to snake it through, which can be a real pain. Now it's time to install the radiator. Now we have the radiator and we have the pump pretty much installed. Now all that's left is the cables. The cables are pretty simple. You're going to have a cable that comes directly off the pump. You want to plug that into the AIO portion. Afterwards, use the USB-C, and then you're going to plug it directly onto the bottom of the pump, and then plug in the remaining wires, such as the CPU fan. We'll go to the CPU fan. You'll have ARGB, and you will also have USB 2.0. We're going to connect the CPU fan. We're going to connect the USB, and also ARGB header. Now I'm just gonna put the tube organizers on to make it look a lot more neat. Now it's all completely installed, and next we will install the GPU. Right now we just gotta remove some of the PCI Express slots so that way we can properly install it. So we're just going to match it up. So now we just gotta take off the PCI Express card slots. So make sure you loosen these before you install the GPU. This is going to hold the GPU. Right here, you install the screws. Here is the PCI Express power connectors.
Now that the GPU is finally installed, we're going to assemble this PC and attempt to do a BIOS flashback to keep it up to date with the 9950X3D2.
So we're going to flashback the BIOS because it is a 9950X3D2 and we want to make sure we're up to date, as the latest BIOS is as of April 24th of 2026, which is pretty new. In order to do so, we got to power up the power supply. Turn this on. Flash your BIOS. It's going to have a gray outline up here. After you plug in the USB, we're going to hold back the flashback button right here for about 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. So we got a green light there.
That BIOS flashback didn't work.
Looks like we have a successful boot. We officially have the AMD Ryzen 9 9950X3D2 running on this ASRock motherboard. Now, as for the BIOS version 4.06, so it is a older BIOS. For some reason, it kept failing flashback, but let's go ahead and try to flash the BIOS instead. Instead, I'm going to use a instant flash. So in order to do so, you go to ASRock, go to Tools, and go to Instant Flash to update the BIOS, just to make sure we get the latest revision. While your PC is updating, make sure not to touch it. Make sure you let it update then. Now, as the PC boots back up, make sure to boot to USB. That way you can boot into Windows and install it. Hopefully you enjoyed this PC build as much as I did. And next, we're going to go into the benchmarks of the 9950X3D2 and see how well this PC does in gaming and in performance. Also, how well it does in productivity. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Chris Mizo, signing out.